The clans of Karaz Ankor unite! Ready your axes! Drain them! Drag them all!
You gotta drang somebody. RuinusInsight here, welcoming you to part 1 of a brand new modded Total Warhammer 3 Old World campaign. SFO Grimhammer 3 Dwarfs. Chosen by community vote, the dwarf that spawned 1,000 memes. The High King himself, Thorgrim Grudgebearer. This is also the first time I'll be playing Thorgrim since Total Warhammer 1, and between Old World plus all the new systems dwarfs have gotten since their inception, plus SFO, it's gonna be a vastly different game. Needless to say, I'm pretty darn excited. But before we retake the realms, housekeeping. Mod-wise, Warband upgrade is back. It's been pretty popular after all, and frankly, it's probably here to stay. Otherwise, all mod info is in the description below as usual. Plug-wise, check out our Discord and join the Ruinous host. Consider joining the channel or becoming a Patreon to get access to perks like exclusive votes, or support the channel by purchasing your games through our affiliates in the description below. Big shout out to the modders, and as always, the biggest shout out to you guys for your comments and support. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the faction and see how it's changed in SFO. So, like any real Dowie, Thorgrim loves 3 things: hammerers, getting hammered, and hammering away at grudges. Needless to say, his signature unit are those hammerers, and he gets them at significantly reduced upkeep with bonus physical resistance and the guardian trait, and that gives nearby lords and heroes matching physical resistance as well. Plus, his lords can recruit hammerers at higher ranks throughout the faction. On top of all that, his unique legendary units, the Everguard, personal bodyguard of the High King, are hammerer variants and thus will also benefit. They can apparently also be upgraded using Elf Gold for using the Forge, which I guess we'll check out once we're in game. Everybody will also benefit from Thorgrim's great big bushy beard and therefore huge leadership aura to anybody who beholds its glory. And on top of all that, he gets pretty amazing buffs for his entire faction. Bonus High King decrees means that he can access the deeps to a greater degree, more powerful commandments across the entirety of the Karaz Ankor, which is probably powerful enough alone to be a faction buff. Additional melee defense for all shielded units, and bonus rewards for all grudges settled or solved. It is resolved. Okay, well, pick a word. Any word at all. Anyway, okay, well, just one of those 3, but anyway, I think that's about it. On to the setup. We're going with very hard, as I find that to be the sweet spot, and of course the AI stats modified up to the max. That's about it for me. All glory to the algorithm, and let's get to it.
March on, brave Dowie! March on!
Alrighty, here we go. Bit of a short starting speech from Mr. Thorgrim Grudgebearer, but that's alright. And Karaz-a-Karak looks absolutely fantastic in the old world. The whole map is made with love, and I can't wait to see basically all of the southern, northern, and central World's Edge mountains and all the little nooks and crannies hidden about. There's just so many little places to find and see on the map. I really enjoy it very much. I also noticed that Thorgrim seems to start with a engineer rather than a dig in for Iron Drakes. I don't know if that's going to be useful for our army at all, but anyway, starts with an engineer rather than a Thane, considering that he's the hammerer guy, but I suppose we have the great Karaz-a-Karak airfields, so it does make sense, and that's another reason why we start with the gyro bombers, so I guess it does also make sense while we get the engineer. Anyway, briefly before we start, how they play. Dwarfs have been changed or seen many a change since they were introduced in the first game, and they play quite a bit differently. We've got the Age of Reckoning mechanic, which was introduced with Malachi, which means settling grudges by attacking particular armies and settlements. We can see the grudges incurred on these guys, for example, and thereafter getting the various buffs from the Age of Reckoning and then acquiring the Grudge Settler units, which are essentially superpowered version of those particular units. Fortunately, Thorgrim probably writes twice as many enemy grudges as he settles, and on the old world map we've got enemies in every direction, so that's pretty darn good as well. Speaking of grudges, we've got the Great Book of Grudges as well, which has a bunch of legendary grudges, but ultimately, most importantly, allows us to force confederate lords, so we will eventually have them all. Regardless of whether they die or not, it doesn't matter, because this confederation will revive them and give them to us. The whole gang will be back together before you know it, most likely starting with Grumbrindle because he has faction-wide buffs, and then followed by whoever. Might even put it to a vote as to who gets confederated in which order, as that might help with the interactivity and which sort of locations on the map we continue to fight. Plus, we've got the legendary grudges that kind of act as additional major objectives for the campaign, which are really fun, and depending on interest, we'll see which ones we want to do, like wiping out the dark elves or high elves or wood elves, wiping out elves basically, and then all the other potential ones as well. There's a lot of stuff to do if you want to do it. Then there is the Forge mechanic / the Oath Gold mechanic, where we can craft our own items using the Forge and the Oath Gold, plus, as we saw, apparently buffs, which I'm not yet familiar with, for the legendary units, the Everguard for Thorgrim himself. And these guys will get on field relatively quick since they only require tier 2 despite being legendary units. Should be fun. Lastly, or actually second lastly, we also have access to the Underway stance, but more importantly the Underway network, which will allow us to move all over the Karaz Ankor, and will slowly unlock throughout the game as we go. I didn't get a chance to use it when I played Malachi, so I'm excited to see it function in among the vast distances of the old world. And that lastly, for when we want to go tall, we can use those High King decrees that Thorgrim has extra to unlock the deeps, wherein we basically delve too greedily and too deep and build beneath the dwarf holds for some additional tallness. Anyway, gotta counteract the shortness after all. Anyway, that's about it. That was a lot of yammering, so let's get started with our first cinematic battle. Mr. Engineer gonna pop into Thorgrim's army, and I guess we're just gonna go. Alrighty. Nothing to do. We'll do the techs, we'll do the buildings, etc., etc. after we get our first battle underway. Ooh, enemy starts with a Doom Diver, but fortunately with a Gyro Bomber, I don't think it'll be a problem. Battle 1, go. Alrighty, here we go. Battle 1, and Thorgrim is on the field, being too lazy to use his own legs, as usual, is going to be carried into the battle, but fortunately the hammerers will be bonking on their own 2 feet. Now, we've got the Grudge Settler hammers. I don't actually know whether they look different from regular hammerers, and we've got the... where are they here? We've got the Grudge Settler great weapons as well. Which are, if I can, there we go, which are armor piercing, and they don't have any particular anti-large or anti-infantry, but they're a tier 5 unit because of their Grudge Settler nature. They've got, let's see, they've got the Guardian ability. Bolster defense is going to help for when we do the whole Dwarfen box thing as well. But anyway, all that aside, we're going to start the battle off with our Gyro Bomber, heading on in to annoy the enemy and drop a few bombs upon them. Of course, the enemy will plink away at us with a few of those arrows, but bombs will begin to drop, and especially the poor goblin archers are gonna have a bad time. We got 10 bombs, and we are going to try to focus down the enemy Doom Diver catapults fast as we can, so that they can't fire upon our units as we approach. Gotta remember, we gotta try to minimize casualties, especially in the early game, as we have no easy way of replenishing our troops. Alrighty, and it looks like the bombs are doing quite well. The Doom Divers are out. The enemy army is damaged. We've already got 250 kills on our gyro bomber. There are a couple more bombs to drop as well. While the rest of the army, short and slow, I meant slow as it is still attempting to approach. There we go. I believe that was the last bomb on the last units of Goblin Archers. 375 kills, 47,000 damage, and we can let Thorgrim, who's still moving, take care of the rest. Alrighty, trying to get that charge in. I believe the enemy lord is in the center as well, so we're going to send Thorgrim backed up by the Grudge Settler hammers to move on in. Over on the flank, it looks like the regular dwarf warriors will charge on in against some orc boys, and Thorgrim will simply wade in to the fight, trying to get through the orc boys to fight Nashrak. Alright, gonna have a little bit of an, I was about to say aerial exchange, but range exchange, that's the word I was looking for, in the background as the Goblin Archers fire away at our regular, non-Grudge Settler units of Quarrelers, and vice versa. And we're in the fight now. Thorgrim facing off against the Orc War Boss. Our Gyro Bomber still flying around, getting ready to annoy the enemy in melee by chasing them down. And a good old-fashioned brutal melee down on the ground below. Orc boys have their Wa activation, melee attack plus 15, and a considerable increase to their damage, armor piercing and not. The armor piercing in particular going to be useful for them in the early game, though they don't have enough biggins to really pierce the armor of our units too well. Anyway, we really got to deal with Nashrak here, who's got pretty darn solid stats. Melee attack is at 79, and he's barely hurt, only having taken about 10% damage, so we're just going to have to bonk him with those hammers as best we can, plus the occasional hit from Thorgrim, while we wait for the rest of the enemy army to be chased down. The enemy lord is shaken and has done a little bit of damage to Thorgrim so far, and it does look like some of the enemy will recover, or rally rather, and we're just going to have to keep chasing until Nashrak is done for. Not that we can chase particularly well, though I suppose that is another reason to get a few gyrocopters in our army early, just so that we have something that can actually chase enemies. Alrighty, and I was about to say Nashrak had broken, but he is still in the fight. Quite impressive, all things considered. These are hammerers after all. They hit very hard, and them surrounding a unit usually goes pretty badly for said unit. And it's also interesting that they have that weakness to fire damage on the Grudge Settlers in particular. I wonder if there is a way that we can take advantage of that with Thorgrim's army in particular. It does also, though, it means we could potentially counteract some of the Chaos Dwarfs, can't we? All that massive fire resistance that they have can be counteracted by the Grudge Settler Hammerers. So if we send an army into the Darklands, it might behoove us to send one with some Grudge Settler hammers. Anyway, it looks like Nashrak is finally done that bonk to the back of the head, and he will shatter, but he did manage to deal about half HP damage to Thorgrim while being surrounded by the hammers, so admittedly, pretty darn impressive. And the first battle is ours, and Nashrak, let's see him fall here. There we go. And Thorgrim will deliver the final blow, and the battle is ours. Nice. Alrighty, there we go. Nice little first fight, and good job to Nashrak, the enemy lord, in terms of actually damaging Thorgrim a fair bit as they were dueling. Thorgrim does start off with fairly low melee attack, as he's more of a defensive lord, and it took a while to bring Nashrak down, even with the hammerers helping out. Not to worry, though, we'll buff Thorgrim up to unkillability before long. Now, we can heal up, but our army is barely harmed and only Thorgrim is damaged, so I think we'll ignore all that, and Drink to Victory will give us an early plus growth and plus control if we want it, but we also will want to invest in our early economy as well. The early game growth is also really, really helpful, but I'm hesitant to turn down 900 gold right away, so I think we'll start with Execute and Loot regardless. Alrighty, and speaking of growth and control, in SFO, it's generally a good idea to not collect income when you start the game, just because you can use it to get the additional growth. We go from 10 growth to 60, and we really need that growth for the dwarfs. And speaking of growth, we've got the barley field, which gives us money and growth in adjacent provinces. Yeah, that's probably the one to take. Versus unit XP and upkeep reduction, which is fine, but yeah, barley field, obviously. Now, by the looks of it, we can't reach Karaz-a-Karak immediately, and I wonder whether we should sit here for a turn and then recruit while we're here. I imagine we still won't be able to reach the place, but we can at least grab a couple of dwarf warriors. Yeah, let's do it. And then we'll advance here afterwards. Should be fairly quick to get there anyway. Alrighty, and then the rest of that is good attacks. We're gonna start with the Way of the Guilds, gonna go for economy rather than military, which, ooh, speed for all units. I mean, speed is very good. I tend to argue that it's arguably the best trait or the best stat to have, at the very least on par with melee defense. Especially against the AI, but we really want heavy kernstones and the growth plus 10 really quickly, and then the Kazad subsidies for the construction cost reduction for province capitals and settlements. It's quite expensive normally. I mean, well, we'll get marching songs rather quickly as well. Anyway, that's all we have to do for that. Let's check diplomacy and then we'll move on. You can do nothing diplomacy-wise. Alrighty. Now, I know that this is old world, and for those who are unfamiliar with how I do it, while the old world's biggest issue is that it has a lot of, end turn time. I simply cut those end turn times out with editing. It is a huge hassle, but it's worth it because this map is fantastic. End turn. Alrighty, this is a buff that SFO offers in the early game, and I think lately I've decided that I'm not going to use it. Yeah, it kicks off the campaign a little bit quicker, which is a good thing, generally speaking, but at the same time, does the player really need any additional buffs? I'm not sure, so we'll just pick time of balance rather than buffing ourselves up. Thorgrim, now, out of curiosity, are you able to reach these guys? You are! Oh, okay, that worked out well. And I also want to check something. New lords. We got Dowie Technician, melee defense +4, melee attack +4 for shielded and shieldless, and reload time reduction. Solid generalist lord. Cross country. Flow battle reinforcement range, kind of, what does we have here? Akarini, missile block chance +10%. Relatively minor, but maybe we can stack it a lot. Rune of Oath and Steel cooldown is good because it's a very spammable rune. Master Rune of Breaking cooldown and weapon strength for army. Doomseeker, ooh, speed for army. Twice as much speed for slayers. Now that's nice. That's real nice. What do we have here? Exceptional offense, but generally speaking, kind of a terrible buff simply because it's better to buff the army rather than the individual lord. Similar thing here, and ooh, plus 20% range and speed for missile units for the army. That's real nice. And that also works for gyrocopters, and it works for slayers. Yeah, we're gonna have to get a fair few of those overseers. I wonder if the overseers or the guild masters have any additional bonuses for construction, because we'll want a construction crew lord up and running as quickly as possible. Because rune lords are really expensive, and I believe last time I played I had rune lords act as construction crews. But anyway, to Karaz-a-Karak we go, Urkbavak rather. Gotta get that gem mine up and running fast as we can. Not much here. We could risk auto-resolving. Alright, let's risk it and let's hope we don't take too much damage. Okay, we're fine. Okay. I get worried because we don't have a lot of casualty replenishment. We'll obviously occupy the place and get a few grudges. Lovely. First stage of reckoning should be pretty darn quick and easy. Now, Thorgrim, you get your first buffs, and Grudge Against the Foul will include Greenskins and Skaven, which are going to be fought quite a lot. So we'll do that first. Then, I guess at some point, rather quickly, we want to start saving points for all of the sort of unique line for Thorgrim, especially to try and get. Oh, it's Ancient Bloodline here. Control, growth, corruption for all of our provinces. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, wow, we basically have to start saving almost immediately if we want to unlock everything. That's fine. Unbreakable when fighting against enemies with 1000 plus grudges, eh? And perfect vigor for the entire army. That's pretty nice. Oh, replenishes 20% campaign movement range after winning a battle? That's even nicer. I like that. Alrighty, well anyway. -8 control, we're gonna have to fix that control. We got the gem mine for ourselves, and it will reduce our recruitment cost for hammers, which I'm sure Thorgrim will be pretty happy about. Otherwise, that's a quick little end turn. We could just summon a new lord and then... You know what? I think either way we'll want an overseer lord, even if he doesn't act as a constructor, so we'll summon the overseer to act as a sort of follower lord and rack up XP. And I just want to take a look at their skill line, so we'll do the guildmaster right now, overseer. I like so. Can you immediately go into a penalty tunneling stance, but I wanted to get you into Valea's Will to get the +2 control. But it's fine. Alright, so everybody gets Mason, but it wasn't Mason that I wanted to look at. This is upkeep reduction, this is upkeep reduction. I see construction time, but no construction cost, though I do like the hero capacity. Interesting that this provides melee defense as well. And just a quick look at anything here that might... plus 30% range? Oh, wow. You're telling me that these guys can have a plus 50% range increase? That's insane. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Last time I played Dwarfs was in vanilla and not in SFO, so I can't wait to see what kind of crazy things we can do. Vigor loss reduction? Damn, the guildmasters are really good. Obviously they can't fight in melee, but that might not be needed. Anyway, it seems that they don't have any particular thing about building cost reductions, so we don't necessarily have to use these guys as builders, though we will still want at least one builder. But I think there is a trait that we can random into that will give us building cost reduction. We just have to find it at some point. Anyway, end turn. Alrighty. You know, one of the things I really love about the old world map is that it makes a lot of the locations actually feel like, you know, like different realms. Like the Dwarves Mountain realm actually feels like a separate realm with all of these mountains, the hard-to-travel passes, and the fact that it occupies a big portion of the map, like especially the central World's Edge Mountains, is huge. It's not just like a couple of dinky little passes that you can get through in one single turn, as they are in Immortal Empires. There is so much more to it, which is just fantastic. Anyway, Thorgrim, we're gonna need you to... I did want to build a couple more dwarf warriors, because these guys probably will get a... on the other hand, we could do this and then build them at the Pillars of Grudny. Maybe we'll do that. Alrighty, also you can march Stanson and follow Thorgrim around. Like so, and it looks like our engineer also leveled up. Alright, we got our first outpost, well, I guess it does say outpost, in Karaz-a-Karak. Gotta be careful because the Karaz-a-Karak starts with barely a garrison, and frankly, we just generally speaking start with barely a garrison. But it's all good. Best defense is, you know, settling grudges by killing everybody around you. What do we want to get here? Increase mobility to start off. Oh, even more restock. Man, basically... Cooldown minus 25% for restock. Oh, I guess Tom Phillipson has a unique trait. What do we have here? I like the research rate, but yeah, this guy has an insane amount of restock. 2 restock, 25% for restock, and then break open the casks, even more restock. He's just going to be topping everybody up constantly. Alright, Bugman will appreciate that. Anyway, we will proceed to Pillars of Grudny next, and let's double check diplomacy in case we found anybody that we want to be friends with, but it don't look like it right now. I wonder whether we'll have to destroy the North Confederacy of the Southern Realms here, because this feels like territory that we want to own, mostly because it's around Barrack Var. Though I suppose it is yellow territory, so we could ignore it as long as we get the mountains. Oh, we have to get Iron Rock, don't we? There's a landmark there. Where is Iron Rock? It should be down here somewhere, right? It's right here, yeah. Alright, it's decent. The carved obsidian, the massive amount that it produces will allow us to get a lot of trade going. I guess the money it provides is going to be inferior to that amount Gunbat, however, because of the Brightstone mine, which is insane. So I guess we gotta prioritize that for the early game in order to get our economy started. Anyway. Alright, looking good. Diplomatic relations with Dwarfs. Oath Gold plus 250 for building the Oath Gold building, but also the control building, so we'll probably have to actually build that relatively soon. Frankly, the sparring chamber needs to be removed, so we'll build it in one of these locations. Either way. Let's start with heavy cornerstones, and then we'll immediately move towards marching songs afterwards. And otherwise, there isn't too much to do here other than attack again. Now, what do we have at the Pillars of Grunny? Not much, but it might be worth a small fight, because who knows if there's anybody over at the World's Edge Archway. Let's find out. Oh, maybe I should have sent the other guy to move in rather than Thorgrim. Yeah, I don't like the fact that it's a close victory, so I think we are going to fight it. Alright, plus we can make use of the engineer as well. Try to help out a little bit. Or the guild master. I do want to see if there's a new guild master. Another overseer. We'll probably want multiples of these anyway, so it might be a decent idea to get the next one on field. And we'll keep paying attention to these guys in terms of looking for another builder. Anyway, battle 2. I was hoping I could see through the throne, but oh well, no big deal. Anyway, here we go. A little bit more in the way of enemies this time around, and we're going to have to do our best to deal with them, though similar to the first battle, we'll start off with a good old-fashioned bombing run along the enemy's front line. There we are, especially the Gobos are going to lose so many units to every bomb drop. A little bit less for the regular orc boys, but that's alright. We do have to deal with the enemy archers, though. They are firing away at that gyro bomber, and it's not going to be able to take those hits forever, so we'll try to reduce the number of archers on field by dropping a few bombs on them as well. The enemy does know that that's coming, though, and does dodge a fair few of those shots. I love the little early game fights that start as skirmishes and then evolve into full-fledged army battles, you know, due to the unit numbers. And I like the sort of every battle in the early game as we start, every battle increases the number of troops on both sides, and thereafter the difficulty of the fights as well. Those smaller fights can be plenty difficult on their own. Anyway, it looks like the battle starts off not just with the gyro bomber, but with our quarrelers trying to dish out a little bit of damage to the orc boys. They do have bronze shields, so they will block 30% of the damage, but probably not going to be enough, especially on an already damaged unit of orc boys. Not them running the gauntlet and actually getting to our hammers is going to end too well for them. The enemy does have a unit of squigs, however, which will charge into the flank of one of our dwarf warriors here, together and exactly at the same time as the orc boys charge in, so good for them. But we were keeping our unit of grudge settler longbeards in reserve specifically to deal with this, and are now going to move to hit the squigs in the flank in the same way that they did us. Hammerers are going to charge in together with Thorgrim at the same time, crashing into that unit of orc boys and tearing them apart. And as soon as those guys are done, we can move on, and a nice belly flop from the orc war boss. We can move on in to surround the enemy orc war boss, who again, a melee attack. These guys start off with a heck of a lot of melee attack, don't they? The war bosses, I mean. Anyway, the battle is joined, everybody is engaged, and the grudge settlers have arrived to protect our left flank. The squigs are now surrounded and probably not going to have the greatest of days against those grudge settler great weapons. Though admittedly the armor piercing is a little bit wasted, they do still have 45 armor, so it's something. The balance of power is in our favor at about maybe 65, maybe 70%, and we are doing our best to chase enemies down with our gyro bombers now that they are out of bombs, or now that the gyro bomber is out of bombs. Alright, and Orc Boys versus Dwarf Warriors should in theory go the way of the Dwarf Warriors, as the enemy regular Orc Boys just lack the armor piercing to overcome them, though of course they have the higher sort of damage and melee capability, but we have a few actual damage dealers in our army, so we should be just fine. And the Gobos, of course, not a big threat without considerable numbers. Anyway, the enemy lord is down to about a third of his HP. The bounce power continues to climb in our favor, and unlike Nashrak, this guy is not having nearly as good a time fighting Thorgrim, who is relatively unharmed, while the enemy lord has been defeated. Now the Y is still up and the Black Orc Big Boss continues to fight, though these squigs that charged our left flank together with those Orc boys as well are both now shattered. The right flank is still in the middle of the fight, but we've moved our Quarrelers in to support. First to kill off the enemy Error boys and Gobbo Archers, whichever's out there. Night Goblin Archers and regular Goblin Archers. And damn, they really don't like our Master Engineer. Nice shot. Who did he just bring down? Okay, it was one of the Orc boys who are getting in the way, eh? And Black Orc Big Boss has moved in to take the place and perhaps the position of War Boss from the now defeated enemy War Boss. But it doesn't stop the balance of power from climbing ever in our favor at about 90% now. And just a few more enemy units to force into rout, and the battle will be ours by the looks of it. The squigs have returned, but that's alright. The Longbeards have been on them. Like flies on whatever. Like dwarfs on beer, I don't know, something. Dwarfen equivalent. Alrighty, and I do believe the enemy army is pretty much done for. This guy's just still steady, surprisingly, but I'd wager not for long, as the rest of the enemy army is routing now. It does seem like the enemy heroes and lords, the orc single entities, like to stick around in combat for a little bit longer, and good for them. If the dwarfs had weak opponents, it would be embarrassing that they struggle so much against the ever-present threat of the greenskins and Skaven. And there we go with that. Crusher, the Black Orc Big Boss, will break, and the rest of the enemy army will shatter, giving the battle to us. I wonder how many kills. Yeah, we're up to 499 on the gyro bombers, and they're going to help chase some of the enemies down. There we go. Alright, there we go. A little bit more damage on our Dwarf Warriors this time, as they had to hold the line, though the Hammerers and the Longbeards did just fine. The latter, of course, having to sort of run around to countercharge the enemy squigs, but they did so with gusto. Still getting massive amount of damage out of our Gyro Bomber. It says Gyro Bombers, but there's only one. And 583 kills, 53k damage. Very, very solid work for one unit, especially in the early game. Gonna occupy the place as we usually do, and let's see about building a few more units. We could get a couple of cheap miners with blasting charges. Let's do that. We can always transfer them to another army as well, and then you can sort of move up ahead just to, well, probably gonna take a couple turns to reach the World's Edge Archway, probably to the edge of our territory, unless we want to march forward, depending on if there's a stack there or not. Billows of Grungni. We are definitely going to want to build a stonecutter shop here. And that will... Okay, wait, what tier? Okay, so starting at tier 3, it'll allow us for the construction cost reduction. It's only 10%, unfortunately, as it isn't in the main settlement, but it is what it is. Gotta make use of it. And I guess we will build the military structure then at the World's Edge Archway instead, as in this first military structure, because we don't have enough room for it otherwise. Now, Thorgrim. And we know that we already know that we're going to have a bunch of hammerers, but they get buffs out of Grimnir's heirs, which doesn't give them any melee defensive buffs, and offensively they're already pretty strong. So it's not the hugest deal right now. Also, wait, I just want to take a quick look at the Warband upgrade system here. So is this saying that hammers can become giants? Okay, that actually does make sense. And Ironbreakers, well, I don't know about that one, but... So it looks like Longbeards can also become Slayers, which again does make sense. Anybody can become a Slayer. Frankly, it should be that every single unit should be able to and become a slayer. I was wondering whether we needed to go for the great weapons, but I think not. I think we're okay. Alright, that's fine. And wait, were we able to build 3 or 4 or 2 units? Okay, yeah, just 2. I was gonna wonder if I should build another miner, but I think we're okay for now. Anyway, Thorgrim. Go for Inspiring Presence, I guess, and then Root Marcher, and then, well, I guess we'll have to start moving through Grimnir's Airs anyway, so... Trying to get those buffs, as I feel like the hammers at least will be buffed up rather quickly. We'll also have to figure out what exactly we want in your army in particular. I think it'll most likely be hammerers plus gyro bombers led by the Skyhammer squadron. Just basically hammer everything. Hammerers, Skyhammers, and maybe some troll hammers, if we really wanted to. I don't know if it's super necessary. Obviously not a crazy amount of them, but we do have the reload ability as well. Not the fire units. Maybe a Thunder Barge to lead them, but it's probably not going to be necessary in Thorgrim's army. I'll think about it. It might be a little bit too overpowered if he has gyro bombers and hammers and a Thunder Barge, so we'll see. Though similar to what we're doing in the Cathay campaign and in the Chaos Dwarfs campaign, I do like having a single powerful command unit for the army essentially to rally around. Like we use the Sky Junks for Cathay, and like we use the Dreadquakes for Chaos Dwarfs. But anyway, I believe that's another end turn unless I'm mistaken. Alright, now let's take a look at that distance again. What do we have here? And if we go all the way to the end of the range, we would be able to reach the World's Edge Archway next turn and then complete the province. I guess we'll do that. It's a little bit somewhat risky. Okay, you know what we can do? We can use you as a scout just to see what's out here. If there's a full stack, then we don't want Thorgrim in march stance, but if there isn't, then we shouldn't be concerned. Okay, there's nobody. Okay, we're good. And you can go right to the edge of this, you know what, maybe even march stance. Just to make sure that we guarantee that we can reach the place. That'll mean not healing up and thus taking a little bit more damage, but frankly there's barely any garrison there anyway, so we're not really too concerned, let's face it. Alright, both of you there together, unless there's another hidden full stack somewhere around here. And we'll have to figure out whether we want to go north or south. We're completely surrounded by greenskins and Skaven, and only a matter of time until they declare war on us as well. Black Falls, Karak Dromar, and Cragmere, eh? So they're here. These guys only have the one territory. We could move to Veil of Webs and wipe them out just so that they don't cause us an issue. But it would mean moving back this way, but it depends on who we attack now. Oh! Huh. Horn is near to us? Okay, that's interesting. That should be really interesting in the early game. Anyway, what do we want to build? Do we want to build the marble or the gems? I'm going to say the gems first because they give us a little bit more cash. I mean, obviously we want to build everything, but yeah. And we'll need growth everywhere, so spam in those barley fields. No, I need that barley. For the beer. Not so much for anything else. Wait, 4 settlements? You're telling me they have way more settlements than this? Oh, they keep going. Huh, they just keep going and going. Go figure. Well, I guess that works for us in terms of completing the first stage of Reckoning. I do wonder if it's the number of grudges is reduced on the old world map or not. It might not be, and if it's not, it's going to be an issue considering the distances going into the late game. I remember when the numbers were, you know, poorly adjusted when the system was just released, and it became just an insane endeavor to reach any kind of numbers in the Age of Reckoning. Anyway. Alright, we got a stonemason construction cost reduction for all buildings in the local province. That is already nice. We'll need to start spamming those. How do we get these? Ranked up whilst having access to the marble resource. Oh, that'll be nice. And let's also check lords again. Cross-country, Dowie Technician, I don't think these guys have changed yet, which is good in terms of trying to get that next overseer. Gotta remember that the lords become more and more expensive as time goes on, so there is that to consider. Anyway, to the World's Edge Archway, this one will just auto-resolve real quick. You can just move in and reinforce, also real quick. Let me go to Valea's Will just to get the bonus control in this province for the turn or so. And just to counteract the conquest penalty. Not a resolve. A bit of damage, unsurprising, and we'll occupy, and that completes the Silver Road. Now, one of Thorgrim's benefits, he's got the Peak Gate Guard at tier 4, or level 4 rather, which is nice as well. We'll get those on field rather shortly, and pretty much immediately in fact, since he does get them cheaper. Alright, now, as I was saying, Thorgrim gets better commandments than everybody else does, so... we'll replace this with a barley field, I think. Oh, actually, no, we'll probably replace this with a sparring chamber because we got other stuff to build in Karaz-a-Karak. Demolish building for now. What do we have in terms of commandments? So, Venerate the Ancestors will give us +4 control, which is very much needed. Income from buildings plus 40%, that's pretty great. And this place will be making a ton of cash. We got the growth, and in the early game, I feel like the growth is the thing to do. Oh, we also got construction cost reduction. Ooh. It's only 10%, admittedly. But we should probably make use of it to upgrade some stuff. Yeah, fine. We'll do the construction cost reduction, Masters of Stone and Steel, and then we'll build a few things next turn as needed. We'll have to figure out whether we want to go for the deep mine immediately or whether we don't. It'll mean more money, but we do like the Toolmaker's Foundry and the armor bonus that it gives to all units in the province, and generally Karaz-a-Karak will be recruiting some stuff. Probably a fair bit of it, in fact. Now, we do also want to prioritize the Karaz Ankor here. And this will give us access to our first runesmiths, so potentially when we want to get the armory up and running, artillery we can probably hold off on. I do want those gyro bombers, but we don't get them access to them until tier 4, so it'll be a while. Though I guess we could build gyrocopters and potentially evolve them to gyro bombers, I believe. Yeah, so there is that potential. It's essentially like training up the crews. I like that. Alright, we'll figure that out as we go, but we are not building stuff right now anyway. You can start with the Root Marcher, I guess. Actually, if we... You know what? Let's get Inspiring Presence. You're probably going to be like 20 turns until you can get your own army on field. And since it's going to take a while, that'll probably level you up like twice. Early levels are generally easy to get, and you can actually... Let's see. Yeah, so about 20 turns for one level out of that, so... Well, you'll get one level out of it, but it's better than nothing. Anyway, you, sir. And we immediately... Wait, or I guess we want to say, you know, let's get Root Marcher, but then afterwards we'll save. We'll save to get his unique line, and then immediately after we'll go into Grimhammer's heirs and then start buffing those hammerers. Yeah. And then what about you, sir? We should might as well break open the casks for infinite ammo. Try to get to those Zufbar 42 pounder as fast as we can. Though we won't be using too much in the way of range units in Thorgrim's army in particular. Diplomacy check real quick. I don't imagine there's anything, but we may as well take a look, and there is not anything of worthy of our consideration. Hopefully these guys aren't going to go around like this and go for undefended Kazad Urkbavak, even, yeah. Well, there's no way that we could defend that right now. Oh. I was about to say, should we leave the settlement and put you into Valais as well? But you're in need of healing right now, so probably not. You know, let's get one basic miner just to get another unit. I just don't want to have too much investment right now while we're waiting for our economy. Skip, and turn. Alright, under Morsleep's glare, your warriors range deep into hostile lands, but all is not well. There are dark omens abroad, as if the shadow of some horned god was watching from the evil moon above. The army is fettered by Morsleep's glare. Yeah, war fervor is fine, but we're not paying money for it. Risk Morsleep's wrath. And oh wow, okay, that was a terrible idea. We just got minus 25 growth and minus 5 control. Yeah, I should have paid the money. Well, that's what I get, I guess. Damn, that's a significant debuff, but what are you gonna do? The growth especially really hurts, but oh well. Anyway, Pillars of Grunny will immediately upgrade you, and let's start building those barley fields everywhere. Oh, also this thing. World's Edge Archway. We'll build the mustering hall here, and we may even have to build a defensive structure here. As somebody pointed out while we were having the vote for the vote for this particular campaign and for this lord, it looks like we start right beside Grimgor, so we're gonna have to contend with him early, and that should be pretty fun. Anyway, looks like we can reach Deadrock Gap from here, and ooh, we got golden idols there, nice. Only the tier 3, mind you, but still useful. And they still have 4 settlements? Yeah, they're only at war with us, or 3 settlements now. Huh, and they own the part of Glopit, meaning the game will probably prompt us to move down here to whichever Skaven clan is occupying this location. But we got iron there, and it'll take us on the route to the, to Iron Rock anyway, which we want to get to. Just gotta be very wary of Grimgor coming in and attacking us. Anyway, we got caravans, and I'm wondering whether... Nah, I was hoping that the presence of the caravans would mean we might be able to trade with these factions, but it doesn't look like it. Are these minor Cathan factions? Who do we have here? Sea Dragons, Castaways, and Laborers of Jar. Okay, well, that's not, well, that's not relevant to us. Deadrock Gap. To you we shall go.
My axe thirsts for war.
I'm a Pyrrhic victory. I guess we are damaged. Alright, fine, we can fight that. Why not? I forget, did you get the Mason trait, and should I have been... No, you don't have anything, and the Ancillary Stonemason is on you, so you just stay here, as we'll want to be building stuff here. So, we'll start with the Makazangor here. It is unfortunately income reduction from all buildings in the settlement, but it's a massive amount of control, and we really do need it, or else we can't collect income, and if you can't collect the income doesn't really matter. We do get 6 control out of the Feast Hall instead, but these things will also give control in adjacent provinces, and adjacency bonuses, even at the cost of some money, is just generally probably going to be worth it. The other stuff we cannot afford right now because we don't have the cash for it, but we can delete you and get some of it back at least. I don't think anybody's gonna take Karaz-a-Karak yet, although they just gotta be wary and watch out for it. Anyway, now that you've built there, you can move out and then probably move back afterwards to continue building, because we'll need to make use of that mason thing. But for now, let's do another little fight, while damaged at that. The boar boys might be a concern, but we'll see what we can do about them with our gyro bomber. Go.
For the ancestors!
Alright, here we go. Looks like we got a Savage Orc Shaman leading the enemy army this time around, and I do wonder, or Savage Orc Great Shaman, I should say, does it have... Okay, it has both Brain Burst and Gaze of Mork. I think I'm worried about Gaze of Mork a little bit more if it starts to attempt to use it against our Gyro Bomber there, as that wouldn't be ideal. But we shall see. Speaking of the Gyro Bomber, going to hover overhead and drop a few bombs on the enemy, starting this time with the enemy Night Goblin Archers so that they don't threaten it with their range attacks, and then moving forward to drop some bombs on whatever units of Orc Boys it can find in the biggest concentrations that it finds them in. There we go. It looks like the damage is certainly coming in, and we'll help it out with a few corals dropping on the heads, or thunking into the heads of the enemy orcs as well. Lovely. And yeah, damn, that one unit of Orc Boys got hit pretty darn hard. And here comes some enemy Boar Boys as well. This time we've got satchel charges, and they're going to probably suffer quite a bit. Just got to be careful about killing off too many of our own units with the satchel charges, though we could use the entrench ability of our Master Engineer to increase the physical resistance of our units, protecting them from too much damage to their own satchel charges, which is certainly an option. And there we go, the enemy will actually use that Gaze of Mork and will actually do a little bit of damage, though it looks like about half of the projectiles did slam into the hill rather than into our unit, so that's okay. The satchel charges have quickly cleared out all of the Boar Boys, who are gonna back off, and we did hide our 2 non-blasting charges miners here in the woods. Vanguard deployed them, and are now getting ready to move towards the enemy Night Goblin archers and help out the Gyro Bomber, which is moving into melee now that it is out of bombs. And yes, it does more damage in range than it does in melee, but it's better against single entities when it is in range, A, and B. This way it can stop the enemy unit from actually firing while the miners move on. And out here, similar to the previous battles, we've got the enemy Black Orc Big Boss, or just Black... yeah, it is a Black Orc Big Boss, fighting Thorgrim and his hammerers. Thorgrim and the Grudgebearers. Dibs on the band name. And another Gaze of More coming in and hitting our Dwarf Warriors. What's our base spell resistance? 30? 40%? Not too bad. Is it more on higher tier units, or is it equivalent? That looks like equivalent. Everybody gets that spell resistance. Gotta remember to summon a runesmith as fast as we can as well. Definitely going to need it. Alright, and it looks like the Black Orc Big Boss is done. The enemy Shaman is still on field, but has unfortunately, for said Shaman, been caught by the Longbeards. Once again, their armor piercing is wasted, but, well, it's not like the Shaman could have fought them in melee anyway. Anyway, with that, this army breaks, and just like the previous armies. Alright, there we go. Minimal losses, a little bit of damage, but overall not concerning. Got a little bit of use out of those miners with blasting charges, as well as the enemy boar boys were forced to ride into the explosions. And we're gonna occupy the place, like so. And we got a Cooper income from gem cutters and obsidian quarries. I wonder, does iron rock count as an obsidian quarry? It says special mine and makes carved obsidian. I guess we can test it out. Either way, the Cooper would be helpful for the gem cutter here, so we can always park a builder lord there as well, assuming we don't need to send them around to... Ooh, looks like these guys are going to get updated shortly. We gotta make sure to get that Doomseeker up and running. Wish we could afford to get you right now, but anyway, Engineer's Knapsack. Joseph of Zorn, you are an engineer, and... wait, this gives another restock with 4 uses. It's kind of amusing, and the reason that I'm amused... +1 control, keep it for now. The reason I'm amused is we can put it on this guy as well. So, wait, are you telling me that it's gonna... Let's see, wait. Currently he has 9 uses. If we give this to him, he will have... It still says 9 uses. I wonder if this is a different restock or not. Okay, well, next time he's on field, we'll test it out, whether this gives him an additional 4 uses of restock or whether it doesn't. Might be neat if it did, especially with the massive cooldown reductions he now has to restock. Anyway, still moving towards Zufbar 42 pounders. And out of these, I'm gonna say missile strength for Heroes Army, like so. And then... No, we can't move you anyway. Just stay and venerate the ancestors. Then, we've got an actual defended settlement here. Walled settlement, I mean. You have to move back around. Oh, we got more greenskins down there. Yeah, we're completely surrounded. This is going to be a neat early game. I'm gonna try to have to get some Imperial allies reasonably quick. We got potential trade agreements. Sea Dragons, Castaways, North Confederacy. I'm still not entirely sure whether we want to keep these guys around. They seem to be friendly with Beric Var, though, and until they get killed by probably Gorbad eventually. We could do a trade with them. I wonder if the Sea Dragons, Castaways will be able to survive out here with Noctilus, though, or not. Remains to be seen. I suppose if they do survive, it would potentially be a decent investment in the sense that we could get access to Cathayan units, so maybe we'll start with them. And then if they die, they die. Oh, we can still trade with the Laborers of Jar for a little while. They'll definitely get killed, but it is what it is. And they are trading with the Western provinces, so maybe we can get some friendly agreements with them as well. Alright, there we go. Some trade. A little bit of influx of cash, bonus 602, that's not bad, really. Alright, and then turn. Alrighty, now we are... I would like to go into a camp stance. How far will we be able to travel there? Okay, it'll take 2 turns, but we'll probably need to heal in order to attack a walled settlement, so no choice in the matter. We'll uncollect the income here for a little bit. Let's see, we can send you back here and then go for, well, I guess we still need the granary. Oh, we need to upgrade the World's Edge Archway. So also, is this, wait. Okay, you take the Stonemason, Joseph of Zorn. And maybe the Cooper and the Teller of Tales. Oh, it's local region. Yeah, but nonetheless. Teller of Tales control +1. Let's see, we can send you here. Wait, was the construction cost reduction also local region? It's local province. The income is for a local region, but the construction cost is local province, and while we have the Masters of Steel and Stone, we should make use of it. So, Dwarf Outpost here to Tier 2. Karaz-a-Karak, yeah, let's upgrade the granary. Get as much growth as possible. And I'd love to get the money upgrades, but once again... Wait, I assume these things... Oh, actually, we don't have the ability to convert them to the different type of building, unfortunately. I got too used to the Harmony buildings from Cathay, and alas, we can't. We could build the armory to get our first Oathstone building, or our first smithy, rather. But we have room for it. So we need 1 for the deeps thing. I assume this takes a spot, and then we need 3, so that's 1, 2, 3. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 spare, assuming that we keep the barley hull. 3 spare if we count one of the ancestral shrines. And then 1, 2, 3, we'll want to build the biggest, sort of most expensive buildings here. And we'll probably want this research one, the Engineering Guild Hall, pretty much in every location. There's probably a few things here that we'll want in every location as well, like the... construction site is all adjacent provinces, construction time and construction cost, eh? It is very expensive, however, though the income from all buildings means that it does counteract the debuffs that it will cause us. And this is income from all buildings for adjacent provinces. We'll want the trading depots everywhere as well. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in the Dwarfen economy, which should be pretty fun. I'd even have to forego one of these. Do these things provide us control? This does not. This does. +10 control. So it will counteract the potential negatives of one of these. But anyway, I think we can't do that right now anyway, so... Hold off a little bit. Alright, you stay there until we can build the barley field here and then upgrade these. And then Thorgrim. I guess all you can build right now is miners, but we can wait until next turn to do so. Maybe if these guys have a stack coming in here, we can force them to attack us in the field. We could also, if we rack up the 4,000 gold, get the Peak Gate Guard up and running. That would be helpful. Anyway, got the growth coming in. Let's end the turn. Alright, what do we have here? My dispute gives us a little tiny bit of income, which we're not collecting right now, so it's kind of irrelevant to us anyway, versus a little bit of diplomatic relations with Zufbar. I guess we could do that, try to confederate them soon. Let's give this a read, though. A reckoner has approached requiring guidance on how to settle a dispute between 2 clans. Both are claiming ownership of a mine. One has remained loyal to you for centuries, and the other has opposed many of your edicts. Give it to the opposing clan. This act of generosity to your rivals shows that you are as wise as Grugne, and the clan will begrudge the gesture, but will acknowledge its debt to you. Alright, and 250 Oath Gold from building the Oath Gold Vault, and that unlocks the Forge. Ooh, that's exciting. I want to see what the... Ooh, Razor Standard, also nice. I want to see what this does. Offering to what is this? Decrees of the High King. Okay, so 480, eh? Casualty replenishment rate. Oh, yes. Thank you. Oh, that is so nice. And this is for everybody? Huh. It's not even just for Everguard? Oh, we got a lot of stuff for, Oh! We can increase capacity of Everguard for an insanely costly amount, but that's also really nice. I thought that considering that they were legendary units that we wouldn't be able to increase their capacity, but this is even more exciting. I'm happy to see that. Unbreakable replenishes more movement range. Yeah. I wonder if we want to save up the Oath Gold for that rather than the rune banners. Although we should probably unlock the Great Runes at least. I have to think about it. They're fairly expensive as well, but frankly, it still has to be a priority to get Offering to Volea just for the plus 5% casualty replenishment. It's not much, but Dwarfs have poor replenishment, and that's what we need. Alright, well, we know what to save towards. Now, Thorgrim, I assume that you can't reach Mount Silver Spear in one go anyway, so move forward. And yeah, we could still look at that replenishment. It's terrible. And Nashrak is back. And, ooh, Mount Silver Spear is about to be upgraded to next tier. And which will power it up a bit. Yeah, we're definitely gonna need the Peak Gate Guard for this. Just gotta make sure that we have enough money next turn. We will upgrade the Gem Mine, meaning we have exactly 4,000. If we get the Barley Field, we should still next turn have just enough to get those guys up and running. And then we'll leave everything else at Karaz-a-Karak for now, but we'll look to upgrade the Dwarf Keep. Now, out of curiosity... Yeah, the hammers are still super expensive, but, you know, they're going to be pretty darn valuable in the fight, so worth it. Next. Oh, Khazad subsidies or speed. You know what, it's 2 turns. Let's get the marching stance, the marching songs, just for the little bit of extra speed, and then we'll rush Khazad subsidies for the construction cost reductions. We may also want to start collecting income shortly, but right now if we collect income we're at -8, unless we switch to Venerate the Ancestors, and we just can't afford to do it. And that's with the Karaz Ankor and you and Valea's Will. Let's also double check our lords in case there is... what do we have here? Rearguard. Control +2 for our own local province. That's not bad. I like it. What else do we have here? Unyielding, not useful to us right now. I like the missile strength for all Slayer units. That should be interesting. And what do we have here? Ducky gives speed plus 25% for the gyrocopters and stuff. That seems like it's not as good as 10% speed and 20% range. Just because 20% range is pretty crazy, and for things like thunder barges, that'll, I'm sure, help out quite nicely as well. Oh, I can't wait for an Air Force army. This time we'll make sure to actually get some Cathayan units in there to get Sky Junks and Sky Lanterns together with Thunder Barges and Gyrocopters. And that'll be fantastic. And then whatever else we can get from other factions. But anyway, diplomacy. And Burning Wind Nomads want to trade. They'll probably start fighting the other Cathayans, but who knows. They'll also probably not survive for very long, but let's trade with them while they exist. Yeah, fine. We'll go for the non-aggression pact with the Confederacy here. I do have pottery, which, actually, I wonder what it does for us, just out of curiosity. Oh, actually, technically, Barak Var has the pottery, not these guys. Oh, these guys also have pottery. Alright, what does pottery do at tier 3? Gives us oath gold and nothing else other than providing a ton of pottery. Okay, so not a huge thing that we're missing then. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to get this rearguard guy up and running, but we can't spend the 1,000 gold right now because we wouldn't be able to get the Peak Gate Guard, so let's skip the rest of this and then let's get ready to move towards Mount Silver Spear. Ooh.
To put your oath gold to good use, my lord. The forge allows you to craft unique and powerful equipment or mighty runes to bestow upon your most favored warriors.
I miss you, advisor man. Alrighty, yeah, this should be a pretty darn tough fight. Look at that, these guys have a nice 12 out of 20 units now. We've only got 15 out of 20 ourselves, plus the garrison with 4 boar boys, biggins, and just generally speaking, lots of units. Well, we gotta pull it up, so we're gonna get the Peak Gate Guard in, we're gonna besiege them, and they will sally out. Though, I guess a big problem is gonna be the fact that they will most likely, have a lot of units be able to escape them. I probably should have built some more miners, but it is what it is. Too late for that now. We will, just in case, build the battering ram and the siege towers, but they'll definitely sally out, considering the disparity in unit numbers. Nothing else we can get, unfortunately. To power ourselves up, no items and nothing else available, so we just got a deal. Alright, World's Edge Archway. We are still waiting, I guess. We could upgrade the granary here, but I think we'll probably get more mileage out of having the rearguard lord up and running. Upkeep increase for Lord's army. Oh, wait. Plus 1% per rank, so it's plus 9% physical resistance at the cost of 10% upkeep. Yeah, I'm not sure that's worth it. A rearguard will definitely be more useful. Just double checking that there aren't any builders, and yes, I will be doing that for a while until we actually find somebody that's a builder oriented, but yeah, let's get you, sir. 250 gold per turn, but we need the bonus control, so you. Rearguard will summon you here, as it's the place most likely to get attacked, and then we'll put you into Valea's Will shortly, so you'll be giving us a +4 control in the in this location. We'll soon be able to actually start collecting income, I hope. Anyway, time to end the turn and probably desperately fight for our lives here. Should be fun. Skip, ban, and turn. Alright, there it is. We got a big ol' orc stack. Let's see if we can pull this off. Frankly, the range units are going to be something of a concern here, possibly or probably the biggest concern. And the fact that they're error boys rather than goblins means we're going to have a tough time actually obliterating them with our gyro bomber in the way that we've done thus far. And it may behoove us to actually save the gyro bomber's bombs for the blobs of orc boys. Well, here we go.
For the devil's crown!
Alrighty, here we go. Looks like our gambit has paid off and the enemy has sallied out with their, what, stack and a half? A lot of units basically, and considerably more than ours. Now we do have some good positions on this map here and here. I don't like that they're a little bit too close to the edge of the map, but and generally I always avoid fighting close to the edge of the map, but we're gonna leave some space between us and the edge here. And the one time I make an exception, this is when basically the only good positioning is close to it, and it's not that we're trying to make use of the edge. In fact, it'll be irrelevant to us because it's not a corner. It's the corner we really want to avoid because that would be, you know, unfair, but it's the impassable terrain of the sort of mountain passes. It also does make sense for the dwarfs to be defending the mountain passes, so seems like a lorefully decent location to be fighting in as well. Oh, I wanted to look inside the entrance, but it looks like it's blocked by mountains. Odd. Maybe it's a collapsed entrance. I guess it doesn't really matter. Or maybe it isn't an entrance at all, but just there to, I don't know, fool the orcs or something. Anyway, I'm going to speed this up while we wait for the enemy to move towards us. Are going to hover the gyro bomber. It really bothers me that it says gyro bombers and there's only one overhead while we wait for the enemy to move on in, and it looks like the boar boys are going to be the ones to lead the charge a little bit. Does seem to be like lots of orcs are moving around at the same time, dropping a few frames here and there, but it is what it is. Alright, and there we go. It looks like the boar boys have drawn close enough to start eating quarrels from the quarrelers. Not going to take a crazy amount of damage, because admittedly we don't have a crazy amount of quarrelers, but hopefully it'll be sufficient. Plus a few hits from our gyrocopter will come in quite handy here as well. Now, unlike the previous battles where we sent the gyro bomber ahead to damage the enemy, we're not doing that here, because we're going to make use of the impassable terrain and the valley that we're protecting to drop bombs on the bigger concentrations of enemies instead. And a little bit of patience will hopefully go a long way. There we go, a couple nice hits into that blob, and then we'll move back and see about forcing the enemy to blob up as well. We're also holding off on having the miners with blasting charges actually chuck the blasting charges until the enemy is concentrated enough for us to make use of them. Alright, and the bombing run continues, doing a decent little bit of damage. We also do have to watch out for those pump wagons, so we will redirect our quarrelers to focusing the pump wagons down so that they can thereafter not charge through our ranks. I do wish it wasn't a particularly dark map, but it is what it is. Not much we can do about it at this time. And there we go, I got annoyed by the piles of enemy error boys attacking us, and these two were kind of close together, so we're going to drop a few bombs upon them to leave us alone, and maybe save a couple more bombs for the bigger piles of enemies. Anyway, the enemy lord has arrived. The orc war boss and Thorgrim was specifically waiting for that, heading on into the battle with his, this time, longbeards with great weapons. while the hammerers are, or the peak gate guard at least, are over on the right flank, and the hammers with grudge settlers, or grudge settler hammers, are over on the left. Finally, the enemy is concentrated enough to chuck a few blasting charges their way down into the blob. I wonder if the Ekrund miners do more damage with their blasting charges as compared to the regular. I'm going to remember when we get the Ekrund miners on the field and make a little bit of a comparison. We'll see. Anyway. Enemy is having a difficult time breaking through the line and taking a satchel charge after satchel charge, kind of reminding me of the Nangao Grenadiers in the Cathay campaign, which have been such stars in that particular campaign. A little bit odd that the Empire and Cathay both have a grenade technology, and the Dwarfs do not. Just the mining charges. You'd think the dwarves would have figured out how to get a little, get a few more uses of that black powder, or at least the Engineers Guild would. But anyway, wait. Don't the units, I think the units in the Thunder Barges drop little bombs from the Thunder Barge, don't they? Like there are a few like hanging out and just dropping bombs, chucking them. I guess those are grenades, it's just that we don't have a dedicated unit for that sort of thing. Anyway, regardless of that, the enemy continues surrounding us. Still a big old blob of enemies that we're having to contend with, though the enemy orc war boss has been defeated. I do wish this was once again a lighter map, but really couldn't have deployed here. I mean, I guess I could have deployed here, but it was a little bit too close to the edge and I don't like that. We'll just have to contend with this for now. And besides, I think we'll be having plenty more battles, including within this episode, and definitely not all of them are going to be dark. In fact, the previous 3 battles were all not in the dark, and that's good. And I take it this is the shadow of the mountain that's blocking off the light, or mountains. Seems like the thing. Anyway, the balance of power is still only about 55% in our favor. Still relatively even, just due to the sheer amount of enemies that are here, but they're going to have a really tough time breaking through the hammers and the grudge settlers and the peak gate guard. And this is their debut. They got magical damage and they apply Bone Crusher to the enemy, as well as having that Guardian. I do gotta remember that they do have said Guardian available. And the Undying Oath as well. For when friendly units are less than 50% HP. Interesting, we'll definitely get some good use out of that, I'd wager. We will be having to fight Grimgor in rather short order after all. Anyway, how are we doing here? The enemy will activate its wall. Frankly, a lot of their units will recover or will come on back. Rallying. Our gyro bomber are now chasing enemies around. It went out here and destroyed a few enemy pump wagons and is now going to chase down some of those boar boys to make sure that they're all defeated. And then we'll come back into the fray here. Our correlers are fortunately still being able to fire away into the enemy blob, though we are out of satchel charges at this point and can no longer decimate the enemy ranks with explosions. But I'm sure we'll find other explosions in the future. Alright, and tactically there isn't too much to say about this. As a good old-fashioned choke point defense, and it once again does make sense to do such a thing against the Greenskins and the Skaven, as we should always expect those two factions, Hordish factions as they are, to be outnumbering the Dawi. Fortunately, they won't be outnumbering us in this battle for too much longer, as they are losing unit after unit. We've in fact broken through the right flank completely and have moved those units that were defending the right flank down to join in the fight against the bigger blob of enemies. I wonder if any of the units that the dwarfs have a sort of light on them of any kind. Wait, don't the miners have a light? But I think they don't have like a spotlight effect on them. A few units definitely glow, but I don't know whether, like the corpse carts, for example, and always light up the darkness around them, but I'm just not sure that the dwarfs have any unit that does have the same kind of glow. We can see the lanterns of the miners, but once again, I don't see any kind of real light effect. At least not one of significance. Though they are easier to see. Anyway, it looks like the bounce power is at about 90% in our favor, and by the looks of it, the enemy army has decided that they cannot break through the pass and that they will give up. And with that, the battle is ours. We're going to try to do our best to chase down whatever enemy units we can here, especially to try to kill off critical units like this Black Orc Big Boss with our Gyro Bomber, which should be able to machine gun it down rather quickly by the looks of it, taking about 400 HP damage with every shot. Not bad. With several gyro bombers, that's, I'm sure, going to go quite well. And yeah, I think one of the things that I'm going to enjoy about Thorgrim's army is that Hammerers, regardless of whether the Peak Guard or Grudge Settlers or regular Hammerers or the Everguard, they only all have 60 units, which is a pretty small unit number. And then when we face off against like multiple stacks of Skaven, it's going to look like a huge amount of enemies surrounding our small unit numbers of 60 Hammerers. Comparatively, I believe Orc Boys have 160. And then Goblins and then Skaven have 200 units compared to the 60 of the Hammers. And that'll feel very appropriate for how the Dwarves should handle them. Anyway, a really nice fight. We held them off. I don't know whether we'll be able to chase down enough of them not to have to fight them again, but, well, let's find out. Alrighty, there we go. Beautiful work from Thorgrim's army, if I do say so myself. The advent of the Peak Gate Guard also really helped us out there, and they got the most kills other than the Gyro Bomber, which got 671 and 106,000. Very nice. Oh, what a nasty unit. And that's without Malachi's buffs as well. And just generally speaking, without buffs or veterancy or redline or anything like that, just pure bomb power. Though I guess it's starts off very strong. Anyway, Engineer got a little bit of damage on it. 19k on the Longbeards, actually doing just as much damage as the Grudge Settler Hammerers, which is quite interesting. Very nice. Alrighty, and then Thorgrim himself only 8k, but he was going after first the enemy Lord Nashrak and then following after the Black Orc Big Boss. Now, we can heal up, but it is a decent bit of healing, but we do need that Oath Gold as much as possible for that replenishment, so I think we have to prioritize getting the Oath Gold. At 75 is pretty darn good, so we'll do that. I'm hoping that didn't break the siege, as we will still want to be able to take the place over. And we got the Ekron Miners up and running as well, which is nice. Plus another Stonemason. We'll put that Stonemason on the newly acquired Rearguard Lord. That should work out quite nicely. Alright, what did that do for our grudges, incidentally? We're at 59%, pretty good. Ekron Miner's up and running. You will lose that Stonemason shortly. There's that speed increase, and a hero becomes legend, a free Tilan Pavis, and a bunch, or just 110 battles with a single hero. Should be easy enough. You leave settlement, and then go into Venerate Valea, or Valea's Will, and then take the Stonemason from Mr. Tom Phillipson. Like so. Do we want the Teller of Tales here as well? I go for the Teller of Tales. Alright. And income from Gem Cutters. Yeah, go for it. Take the Gem Cutter guy as well. Alright, now we're at plus 14, meaning we can finally collect the income. There we go, we've really needed it. And we'll get the Marble Quarry up and running immediately, as well as the Barley Field for all that extra growth and a little bit of money it provides. And that's pretty much all the money that we have, so I'm just going to have to work with it. Next up, we have technologies. Gather the throngs into... No, I lied. Kazad subsidies, construction cost reduction. And then I'm just taking a look at what we want to go after that. Income from province capital settlement buildings, High King's authority, let's see. Construction costs for resource buildings, income from trade tariffs, toolmakers guild, money from industry, which will be good as soon as we actually have industry buildings. Obviously we can't really get anything with the... with Oath Gold cost. I believe there should be an upkeep reduction, yes. So for Thunderers and Slayer Pirates, but... we're not going to be using a crazy amount of those yet. Alright, we'll figure it out. We got 6 turns to consider the matter. Now we can't afford them. I was going to get the Ekron Miners in. Anyway, now these guys are pretty much done for, and we can just auto-resolve them. It'll be a little bit of damage. Maybe a little bit of damage, but deal with it. And we will occupy the place, completing this province as well. And, ow! Would you look at that? we captured a grudge thrower building. Well, isn't that fantastic? We're actually going to start with Venerate the Ancestors here because we probably can't... Actually, we probably want to upgrade the Dwarf Outpost first, so we'll do 1 turn of Masters of Stone and Steel, upgrade Dead Rock Gap to tier 2 just to upgrade the gold mine, and then switch it back. And then we'll probably need to delete the clan barracks here. But we can briefly build a couple of quarrelers and a couple of grudge throwers just to max out the army, at least until we're ready to switch the army up and then transfer those units and all that. Gotta have a full stack ready for when Grimgor declares war on us, which, well, by the looks of it, since he is... How's he strength rank 7 already? What the heck, game? We're strength 253, and he's gonna declare war on us. Without a doubt. I wonder if he'll do it next or go for somebody else, because we're busy. If he declares war on us immediately, we won't be able to turn upon the Skaven here. And I wonder how big this particular clan is. Well, we'll see. Skip. I believe we don't have any money and we can't build anything. You just stay there and keep venerating. I do want to take another look at the lords. Hey, we got another rearguard as well. Attrition and... yeah, nothing. One moment. Great Cannon's ability, so I take it that's different from the Zupar 42 Pounders, so we could in theory have an army with an engineer and this guy and then double up on the cannons. Certainly something to think about. 12 legendary grudges, yeah, we're still looking at those. What is the closest one? Deld Heights, Ironcraft Mountains, okay, those are quite far. Retake the Realms, Part 1, Retake the Realms, Part 2. Still pretty far. But at least those are both ones in the northern and southern World's Edge Mountains, so they will inevitably be completed as we make our way down there. This one, Retake the Realms Part 3, Black Mountains, Northern Grey Mountains, okay, that's going to take a while. And, well, actually, once we confederate, I was about to say Belagar, but actually he's to the south and Karakate Peak, so not so much. Well, we've nearly reached Nollengrom, which is good. But anyway, well, maybe not nearly, but certainly getting there. The elf thing is going to take a while, and then the rest of these are going to take a while as well. What? What? Malekith has already been killed? What the heck is going on over... Oh, wait, no, he's not on the map. I was like, that's so confusing. Yeah, no, because it's old world, obviously it makes sense that, that he's not there. It's kind of interesting that he's not there, but the... Like, we don't have the other elves here. Huh. But here we do have all the dark elves. But these ones that I'm pretty sure aren't on the map. Well, interesting. Interesting either way. Either way, let's end the turn and proceed. These guys have the one settlement left, which now has also walls, but with only the one, it shouldn't hopefully be too much of a problem. Just gotta keep an eye on that Grimgor. Also, we're gonna save the points now in order to try to get to Ancient Bloodline and stuff as fast as possible. You can keep increasing that mobility, though. We're definitely gonna need it. And I wonder how long until we can collect the income here. I think we might want to prioritize once again building the Karaz Ankor here, just for the control, both adjacency-wise and non-adjacency-wise, and turn.
Groby scum in my presence.
Why is there Groby scum in his presence? And yeah, there it is. We were fully expecting that. Grimgor will declare war on us at the very beginning, and hey, we're down to strength rank 315 now. Well, I have concerns, and we may need to back this guy away just so he doesn't die in case Grimgor shows up here before we're able to take this location over. It might also mean we should march stance. Ooh, but we also need to recruit. Okay, well, we'll have to carefully consider how we do this. Still need. Alright, research 8 techs, and we got a Talisman of Preservation and a Dragonfire handgun. And, actually, it would be nice if the devs added Drakefire guns to the game. But anyway, this will be nice for our flamethrower army, generally speaking. Now, this is the same territory, so we should... I wonder if it takes 1 or 2 turns to get Grudge Throwers up and running. Just the one. Alright, that's fine. Just out of curiosity. I'd love to build buildings, but we need to recruit the rest of the army stuff, so we're going to... I guess we're gonna do it with Joseph of Zorn,
For the Karaz Ankor.
so that we can travel a little bit further with Thorgrim. I need to knock these guys out before they recover, and before ideally Grimgor attacks us. Though I'm sure he's coming. That's why we don't have a hero to. What the heck is this? That's not good. How do you guys have black orcs already? That's concerning. And when we're in March stance, it's a very high likelihood that these guys actually attack Thorgrim here. Well, that is what it is. Not much we can do about it. You're gonna go here. We're gonna have you start recruiting the 2 grudge throwers. And I'd love to recruit some quarrelers. I guess we can recruit 1. We'll do the shielded rather than the great weapon variant.
You dare.
Like so. I don't know if we get more mileage out of getting some grudge throwers, but well, maybe we should have some range anyway. And I guess we can actually save the 3rd space for the Ekron miners. We'll eventually take them out of the army, but for now the satchel charges will provide some much needed value. And yeah, looks like Sea Dragon's castaways are gonna die. Just gonna try to get as much money from them as possible before they do. Huh, trading with the wait, that's us. I got too used to Malachi and then the Cathan campaign and seeing Karaz-a-Karak there as a potential ally rather than ourselves. Anyway, just me being silly. Let's take a quick look at the lords, just because I gotta do that every turn, other than the other rear guard, which we will summon shortly. It looks like nothing new, or at least nothing interesting. Alright, let's skip. We'll see what these guys do. Oh, they're at war with these guys, eh? Huh. If we have time, we could potentially watch them attack them and then kill them both.
There'll be some grudges.
And yeah, there go the Sea Dragon's castaways, unfortunately. Could have used the trade for a little while, but it is what it is. North Confederacy now fighting Clan Mordkin. Hopefully they can hold for a little bit. Capture many provinces. Working on it, though I wouldn't say 3 as many. And you are not able to reach Galopit. Alright, go into a camp stand so that you get the additional little bit of healing. Move towards these guys. We'll see how long Dusty besieges for and how long these guys do that. You can unfortunately not reach Thorgrim. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. You're just like 1 turn ahead. Okay, fine. Just a tiny bit away. Do we want to build the watch room here? Would it actually help if Grimgor came around with a full stack? I don't think it would. A full stack still wouldn't be enough to defend against it. Only, I think, only Thorgrim will be capable of it. Oh, but at the same time, we can't declare war on Dusty. I wonder if he'd win this. Remains to be seen. We could also just peace out with these guys and ignore it, but then, depending on how that turns out, these guys will likely attack us. How many territories do they have? 7. Okay, so they've got a fair bit. We probably will want to get a rearguard lord up and running here, just with like a pile of miners to defend this particular location. Okay, well, before we do either way, you're gonna go here. Construction cost reduction. We will, I guess, build the barley field, and then if we cite Grimgor's main stack, we can always cancel it, delete it, etc. as needed. And while we really do want that runesmith up and running. 2,000 gold is crazy expensive right now, but I think maybe we'll want it on field. This doesn't give us additional engineer capacity, so it's not as worth it. Yeah, fine, let's do the armory. And then you can start moving here. Oh, you know what? You can move and venerate because we can get the bonus control. Alrighty. And then I guess keep the Dwarf Warrior place. That gives us the ability to recruit quarrelers here for now. We can't really collect the income because of the horrendous, well, public order there, but getting there. Alright, new diplomacy check. Can we... No, I was hoping that we could trade with somebody else since the faction that we were trading with is now destroyed. I guess... Ooh, wait, 424 oath gold. How much do we need? 470 and 2.4k. Absolutely worth it for the casualty replenishment rate. I just gotta get to that soon. We'll prioritize it as pretty much first. Yeah. Alrighty, and you cannot get another use and increase mobility, but I guess you can keep... Oh, get the flash bomb. It's a nice little debuff. It's a very short-lasting debuff, but prevents the enemy from charging. Alrighty. Well, let's see what happens here, and let's see if Grimgor shows up. Alright, and it looks like Dusty and his Bloody Spears did manage to win, or Drippin' Fangs rather, destroying the Bloody Spears. Now, they have barely a garrison and are damaged, and perhaps this is a good opportunity to knock them out. Oh, won't be able to reach them here, or will we? It's a little bit risky, but we might be able to essentially attack them, take out their main stack, maybe a couple of settlements, and then peace out with them. I don't know if this is a terrible idea going southward, but the thing is, they'll declare war on us. It's pretty much inevitable. So I think we've no choice in the matter. Yeah, Thorgrim's got a really nice and interesting start anyway. Oh! Oh, okay, no, this thing is blocking him. I thought he couldn't reach Glow Pit, and I was like, what the heck? Yeah, we'll get the Ekron Miners for now, which will give him 17 units. We'll transfer, get rid of the other miners later. Then we will want to... Oh. How many turns until... Oh, 2 more turns. Alright, gotta get that armory up and running. Then we will auto-resolve this little force of... Just out of curiosity. Control +2 physical resistance when defending. Huh. Are we able to attack with this when we force them into attacking us? I guess we're about to find out. Go into regular stance for now. Kill these guys, the little rebels, auto-resolve them. Hopefully it doesn't do too much damage to us, because it's just piles of Skaven slave slingers. 96. Okay, I don't see how that would have happened, but okay. We did, however, get the red X of Karak 8 Peaks, which is nice, and we can still get plenty of replenishment, so we'll take it. Then, we will go into Valea's Will, and then we'll besiege the enemy. Oh, can we talk to the Darklands bandits? No, they're an undiscovered faction. Alright, you, Thorgrim, can now hit harder. You can now declare war. And I hope I don't regret this, and then we'll see if we can force them to come out and play on the field. And if we can't, no longer a huge deal, because we now have grudge throwers. And we can always bombard the settlement as needed. Lovely. Alrighty, wait, can regular miners be upgraded to miners with blasting charges? They can, but they need to be rank 3. Alright, kind of makes sense. And we will probably want these guys to be upgraded to longbeards, though very, a long beard away from now. A long way away from now, whatever. Do we get the other rearguard lord up and running? Wait, we can't afford him anyway, so no. Let's skip. Let's end the turn. Let's see if these guys attack. Let's see if Mr. Grimgor shows up. He certainly doesn't want peace, and since we're the only ones we're at war with, he's coming for us. And, wait. Did you just take... Alright. North Confederacy. I'm gonna need you to not take mountain territories, or we'll need to betray you and kill you, because we certainly can't have you, in our realms. End turn. Oh, well darn, Grimgor has showed up out of nowhere, and with a pretty solid stack. I guess I should have attacked and then backed off. Oh well, what can you do? A little bit unfortunate that we invested in the place, but on the other hand, at least it doesn't have any of our trade goods, although Grimgor will keep marching, so we gotta make sure of it. We'll just auto-resolve this because it's a waste of time. Hey, Dusty actually will attack. That's fantastic. I appreciate that. The Black Orcs with great weapons are going to be an issue. And did Grimgor have Black Orcs? How did these guys have Black Orcs when Grimgor doesn't? Or maybe he doesn't, I just missed it. But either way, we're definitely fighting this, and now with grudge throwers as well. Go. Alright, here we go. That's a menacing glow, not Nurglish, but Skaven, as a glow pit here is, though it was an orc territory, is in Skaven territory. Or at least the other 3 settlements are Skaven, so hence the glow. Should be interesting to fight the enemy. We've also got a fairly interesting position available to us, though unfortunately I think we'll be too slow to actually plug the choke points, and are going to have to sort of defend near the choke points around. The enemy will still have to move up towards us. But it's not going to be as easy as if we were able to defend these two particular locations. That's all right, though. We're just going to have to deal. Anyway, let's speed this up a little bit as we position ourselves. And now, it looks like the gyro bomber is going to move on in and get its first few shots off. There we are. Alrighty, and it's going to take a few arrows and try to dodge them as best that it can before dropping a bomb or two down on the enemy archers and below. Speaking of archers, or quarrelers in particular, our own range units will start firing back upon the enemy and doing the best that they can to reduce their numbers. And since the enemy is going to attack us from two separate sides, we're going to sort of separate our army into two distinct forces and try our best to deal with the enemy Black Orcs, which are going to be the major threat. There is one unit of Black Orcs here on the left and one unit of Black Orcs here on the right flank as well. Probably a good idea of the AI to separate them in the way that they did, since it means that we can't concentrate our most elite forces in one location to deal with them. But oh well. Anyway, looks like a unit of Gobos attempts to charge us, but the blasting charges will send them scurrying away rather quick. Though admittedly, there's always more Gobos where that came from. Thorgrim decided to charge the enemy a little bit, but got a little bit too far from the rest of our battle line, so we're going to send him right back while we continue drawing the enemy in for another few nice satchel charges. Alright, Bomber has moved away and dropped a few more bombs, as it likes to do. Looks like the battle is about to be joined over on the right flank as well. Black Orcs are getting ready to move in. We're also trying to protect our units from the enemy in the trees, but okay, that's too dark. Can't see what's going on there. But anyway, Peak Gate Guard there will fight the Boar Boys and the Squigs in the trees in particular, or specifically, so that they can take advantage of the large unit debuffs for when fighting in the woods. Looks like Thorgrim has defeated the Black Orc Big Boss and has now switched to fighting the enemy War Boss instead, who has a lot more HP than the Big Boss did. And our gyrocopter is back in action, still dropping bombs, this time upon the Black Orcs below. We've also switched our newly acquired Grudge Throwers to firing upon them, and it looks like they've shed about maybe 30% of the HP that they started with, maybe a little bit more. Hopefully a few more rocks will crush a few more Black Orc heads, and that'll make it a little bit easier to deal with them. These are great weapons after all, and that's a lot of armor piercing from a heavy-hitting unit. I wonder how a completely maxed out unit with all the stats and all the techs and buffs of hammerers versus a completely maxed out unit of Black Orcs would work out, as in who would win. Probably not going to be easy to tell, although I guess the AI does get to sort of cheat and get a bunch of free technologies, unless I'm mistaken, so maybe it will be able to see the teched out Black Orcs reasonably soon. Who knows? Although there's no guarantee that the AI will actually put points in the red line appropriate to them. Anyway, the balance power has shifted to about 90% in our favor. These Black Orcs were heavily damaged by the time they moved on in, and then the same thing for these Black Orcs as well, though they were on this dark side of the map. And we were able to hit them with a bunch of satchel charges as they charged in, a few bombs, and we took care of the two critical units that will allow us to defeat this particular army. Of course, a few stragglers are still in the fight, some Orc Boys, some Gobos all over the place, but without the Black Orcs to dish out the actual damage, and they're just not going to be able to break through. And we shall give chase. The enemy Orc War Boss has been felled by Thorgrim Grudgebearer himself, and with that, the enemy army will fully break, and the battle will be ours. Lovely. Alright, once again, we'll do our best to chase, because we really need to make sure as many of them die as possible. We've got Grimgor to deal with, after all. Alright, another nice fight. The garrison is destroyed, but the army that attacked us is not, alas, so not much we can do about it. I'd love to heal in order to fight Grimgor, but this amount of Oath Gold will complete the necessary amount to get to that decree and get that casualty or punishment rate, so we're gonna have to execute and loot. Alright, there we go. What the heck do we have here? Shameful display. A close ally of ours, an influential Dowie sitting on several guild councils, has shamed his family name with a craven act. He should by all accounts take the Slayer Oath and go into exile, but we will lose his influence. No control reduction. Lose the 10% that we gained with Zafar previously. Make him take the oath. Alrighty, so settlement looted, is settlement lost? I know. Mad's map, campaign movement range plus 50% for armies. 20% chance to appear in a random nearby region upon ending the turn. We're gonna, I think, have to risk it for Thorgrim in order to book it towards Mr. Grimgor, so let's just hope it doesn't screw us over. A little bit of gambling here. Then, Thorgrim, we're gonna have you attack Glopit and auto-resolve it this time. Shouldn't hopefully be too much damage. And we will, rather than occupying it, sack it. Like so, because that allows us to retain all of our movement range, and thus, march stance all the way towards Grimgor. Let's hope that he stays here and tries to defend World's Edge Archway. Like so. Talayan Pavis, mission successful, good. We will put it on, I guess, the engineer for now. Do you have more? No. I was hoping for additional increased mobility. Triangulation, please. And you can use this to... Oh, right, you had that engineer's knapsack, but it actually wasn't doing anything. I checked. We still had 9 uses, so it doesn't seem to do anything whatsoever, but that's fine. We can put it on another unit. Now, question. Okay, so these guys aren't willing to peace out yet, eh? Now, you, sir, are going to occupy Glopit, like so, occupy. And then... we can't really collect it, just out of curiosity. We can't trade Glopit to them. I wonder, what about... I wonder which Skaven clan is here.
Let us begin.
Otherwise we might have to abandon it, because we can't hold it right now, and... yeah, it's a bit of an issue, but it is what it is. Oh, you're not recovering here. I should have probably put you into Dead Rock Gap directly, but oh well, too late now. I'm just gonna have to deal with it, I guess. Alrighty, so the thing that we want to do is go to the Forge, go to the decrees in this, offering to Valea. All our oath gold, most of our money, but, you know, casualty or punishment rate decree. Alright, now that will increase our healing very slightly, but once we're in the appropriate stance, it'll probably be quite a bit more. How are our elites, Care? Our longbeards with great weapons are hurt, but our hammers are more or less okay. I don't imagine that we can take on Grimgor one-on-one with Thorgrim as yet. Ooh, we should probably get that master, that Aura of Endurance up and running, regardless of the fact that we're saving for Ancient Bloodline for now. Alright, so just sit there. Grimgor might even try to attack us while we're in march stance, huh? Although we're exactly in his range, so maybe we want to just move slightly away. We have very limited reinforcements here, but we do have some reinforcements, but the tiredness of our units is going to hurt them quite a bit. On the other hand, baiting him into the attack might still be worth our time. Just because it will allow us to not have to chase him if he tries to go into Pillars of Grungne. Probably the thing to do. Anyway, I want to see what Skaven clan is nearby. We have a Clan Ferric, Clan Gnaw, Clan... is it Clan Mordkin that's nearby? Trade Settlements, Glopit. 55. Now this will count as a gift and it will piss off everybody who's nearby, but it's 4.7k for a settlement that we will eventually, you know, kill off. So... wait. We could do the non-aggression pact like this and still get 4k, not fight the Skaven for a little bit, and then cancel the non-aggression pact in 10 turns while we deal with the greenskins around us. As much as it is annoying to give up the settlement, but this will prevent them from killing off Joseph of Zorn immediately, and frankly, I feel like I'd rather keep him alive, so we'll give this to you. No Council of 13 here, only Mimi. Okay, yeah, propose offer. There you go, enjoy that glow pit until we come to take it back. Call it a poison pill. You can get Route March, sure, I guess. Alrighty, and let's also double check our lords. We still have that rearguard guy, and frankly, we should probably get the rearguard up and running and have him hold Mount Silver Spear, possibly recruit. Oh, in fact, you know what? Go into Dead Rock Gap. Like so. And then sit there. And we got the money back anyway. We probably want to upgrade Karaz-a-Karak, but at the same time, without the Masters of Stone and Steel, or Steel and Stone, or whatever it was, it's not going to be nearly as cheap as it should be. I think we can wait the turn, or at least I hope we can. Alright, skip the rest of this, and let's see if Grimgor tries to go for us while we're in March stance. Probably not going to get a better opportunity to wipe Thorgrim out. I really wish I remembered what was in his army. There's no... I'm just gonna hope that there isn't any Arachnaroks in his... wow, he's level 12? How do you manage that? What the heck? He only has 4 settlements, right? 5 settlements. Well, I guess the AI also does cheat in terms of its XP gain, because I don't know how he managed to get an extra, like, 20,000 XP compared to us at this point. Interesting, though. End turn. Alright, looks like Grimgor decided to be a little coward and not attack us. Every single one of these events gives us a negative control. No negative control. We have plenty of it. He did get a bunch more Y units in his army, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Looks like Clan Mordkin are moving here, but that's okay. We'll send Joseph of Zorn out here. Like so. And what's the chances of our ambush succeeding? 50-50, eh? We don't heal much like this. We could try to attack Grimgor directly, but I do wonder how much damage he is. We can't see his army, unfortunately. And we are at about half HP for most of our melee units. Still tempting, though. Can we pull it off is the question. Guess we're about to find out. Go. Oh, there's another stack nearby. Well, that's not good. Okay, well, it is what it is. I was hoping to go into Valea's will, but, well, that also is what it is. Alright, Thrani, you're gonna reinforce in March stance, because we're clearly gonna need it. And then, yeah, Grimgor is definitely going to be an issue. We can't kill him in an easy one-on-one. We're just going to have to try to deal with him in some way. They do have a Doomdiver catapult, but relatively limited amounts of range. What do they have in terms of Wa? Of course, they got 2 more Black Orcs with great weapons. 4 Black Orcs. A lot to contend with at this early time, but it is what it is. Can't recruit any Grudge Settlers, unfortunately, but hopefully soon, including, hopefully, the Hammerers. Yes. And wait, are there gyro bombers, Grudge Settlers, or only gyrocopters? Oh, there are gyrocopters with troll hammers, right, and I did potentially want some troll hammers in this army. I wonder, wait, does your entrenched... I was hoping it would give the dig in to gyrocopters, although admittedly that makes absolutely no sense, so... but they would work. Anyway, I'm wondering whether in order to win the fight, whether we want to grab Grimnir's heirs to power up our... Hammer is a little bit more, although admittedly 6 melee attack isn't a crazy buff or anything like that. It probably won't make too much of a difference. Frankly, I think nothing here will. 5 melee attack is probably not significant enough. We already have Grudge against the Foul. A bigger loss reduction out of Obstinacy, but, well, we get 20% of that. They will get tired fighting all those Orcs, I'd wager. Yeah, you know what, let's get 2 points in Obstinacy. And that means we won't be able to get everything here immediately, but, well, we gotta win this fight, and we gotta win this fight in such a way that we're not so heavily damaged that we can't beat this little army here, so, yeah. I'm also wondering whether they can actually reach Deadrock Gap from here. I'm a little bit worried about that. Try to move away. And then there's these guys to consider as well. We are surrounded, and they refuse to peace out. But it's all good. At least I hope it's all good. We'll see. Anyway, time to fight Grimgor now. This'll be fun. Alrighty, here we go. Grimgor in the early game with all of those Black Orcs. We got 4 units with great weapons, including the Crimson Killers, as well as Grimgor and 2 Black Orc big bosses, Doomdiver catapults, and I think more than 2 stacks since the enemy reinforcements have stopped. Wait, how do they have more than 2 stacks? Oh, the garrison plus the Wa plus Grimgor's stack. It's a little bit concerning, I will admit. Especially considering we're still damaged, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and well, we can't have our Dowie shame their ancestors, so they're going to try and win this fight. I'm gonna start off as we normally do, and ooh, I love to see the fact that this is not a dark map. I still wish that you could disable dark maps, or set the amount that you can get. As in, like, have a little toggle that says, I don't know, you can set it to a ratio of 1 to 10, so you get 1 dark map for every 10 non-dark maps, for example. That would be nice. Anyway, it looks like it's time to bomb those Black Orcs as best we can. Gonna try to reduce their numbers. I don't know how well damage, or how much damage we can deliver with the bombs. Actually, oh, that wasn't a bomb, that was a grudge thrower. Alright, there's the bomb. Alright, gonna drop a few more in the big old blobs of enemies. But considering they have 2 stacks, I got plenty where that came from. The grudge throwers will be now focusing the enemy Black Orcs as best they can, though as we saw, a single hit from a grudge thrower only does about, 5% damage, very little. I can see the tiny difference from several hits. Well, we're just gonna have to keep on working on it, and while the enemy charges forth, just keep on dropping bombs in the biggest concentrations of enemies we can find. And even this is probably not going to do enough damage to make a considerable dent in the sheer amount of enemies that are on the battlefield here. Now we've got a nice little dwarf box going in the very center of the battlefield. Ooh, looks like the Doomdiver is firing away on us, and we're going to have to do something about it. Looks like the Doomdiver might have killed off one of the Peak Gate Guard, I'm not sure. Ain't great, but all we can do is charge the gyro bombers into melee and hope that, well, since we don't have the bombs to deal with it, hopefully they can try to dish out as much damage to the Doomdivers as they can, or it can. Alright, as for our formation here, we are slightly using this little tiny impassable terrain to protect our one sort of portion of our flanks, but like I said, we're Dwarf Box, we're in the very center of the map, so we will likely get surrounded and thus have to protect every side. Our Longbeards plus 2 units of miners are over in the back, as enemies will be charging towards us with boar boys and with squigs and with lots of those pump wagons. This time, unlike last time, we've got the Dwarf Warriors on the flanks, while the Hammerers are going to be the center, because, something needs to fight the Black Orcs, and they will just tear through the regular Dwarf Warriors like a hot knife through butter, so can't have that. And the Dwarf Warriors will instead protect the left and right flanks from charges from the enemy boar boys and such, with the Quarrelers and the Miners in the center of the formation, ready to chuck blasting charges best as they can. Anyway, here comes Grimgor. We're going to wait for him to waste his charge and then charge right back on in. Hit him with the Oath of Vengeance to reduce his melee defense down to a mere 22, which will hopefully give Thorgrim and the Hammerers enough of an opportunity to dish out damage. In the meantime, the enemy will charge towards us, but the first of the Boar Boys and Gobos will take a nice hit from our blasting charges, and by the looks of it, will back off a little bit. I guess they want a sort of critical mass of units. Our gyrocopters still working over in the background, trying to get those darn units of Doomdivers to stop firing, but they are still firing. And a few of the enemy units are trying to keep us, or keep that gyro bomber back from killing them all, which is, I guess, a smart move by the AI. The Hammerers have made it in and are in the fight against the first of the enemy Black Orcs here. And they're going to have to do their best to hold. Grimgor is at, let's see, he's got about 30%, maybe 40% of his HP remaining, while Thorgrim is up to about 50%. Cowardly Grimgor has also called the Black Orc Big Boss to help, but I suppose we do have our Hammerers helping as well. Although even with that being the case, I feel like Grimgor might still not call for help. Who knows? Anyway, we got a big old pile of enemies over on our left flank. In fact, a really big old pile of enemies. We're just going to have to hope that this one unit of Dwarf Warriors can hold. 47 melee defense on them, which doesn't seem like much, but, in the beginning of the game, the early game, it'll be decent. Doomdivers still coming in and damaging us. Here comes Grimgor's Wa, which is better than the standard Wa. Twice as much damage from the weapon and armor piercing damage compared to the regular WA, but I think the same amount of melee attack. Still, that's a lot of potential damage, even if Grimgor is down to about 15% of his HP. A couple more hits from Thorgrim. Ooh, nice hit delivered. And it looks like Grimgor at least is routing, though he may come back. Our right flank is unfortunately on the verge of being overrun, and it looks like the enemy pump wagons have made it around us and are breaking through the lines of miners and the grudge settlers. Or the Longbeard's grudge settlers, and are making their way forward towards our grudge throwers and have actually kicked them off of their artillery pieces, which means those guys are no longer firing. The balance of power very much in Grimgor's favor at this time, but even if Grimgor should win this battle, I don't think he's getting out of this. He's got 947 HP and Thorgrim is still giving chase. We're going to slow Grimgor down further with a flash bomb to reduce his speed by 50%. And he's still got that Oath of Vengeance on him. 262 HP. Come on, one more hit. Make sure that at least Grimgor goes down, as the rest of our army is kind of on the verge of being overrun here. And down he goes. Beautiful. Alrighty, and then right back into the fray. There is another Black Orc Big Boss, 2 Black Orc Big Bosses to take care of, though they are still fairly damaged. I'm getting very concerned about the left flank, but frankly, the Dwarf Warriors are doing a great job holding off the massive tide. Frankly, I should have saved at least 1 bomb for this. Or maybe 2 off the Gyro Bomber, because they would have been fantastic here. Use those a little bit too early. Pop them off prematurely. But anyway, instead of the Gyro Bomber bombs, we do have another recourse, and that is the various units of miners. We just have to keep them away from the main line long enough to actually chuck a few of those blasting charges, and it looks like the Ekron miners will indeed begin chucking. Like so. Very, very nice. Right into the main line of enemies. That's a big pile of damage. And here comes another one. Oh, beautiful. Alrighty. That was very much needed. Let's see how many more volleys we can get off before we run out of ammunition. And with all the restocking on our what's his face? Engineer. We could probably restock them as well for a couple more throws, which is going to be real helpful here. Very, very nice. It looks like the Ekron miners are essentially clearing the left flank by themselves. They've already got 355 kills and 68,000 damage. I was on the fence about getting these guys into Thorgrim's army at first, but it looks like it was very much the right move to do so. The bounce of power remains in the enemy's favor, but they still have reinforcements arriving. Not so great for us, and it looks like the first of our units are starting to flee. Our grudge throwers rather, are done for. We're still fighting on the right flank, though it looks like the Peak Gate Guard have been fighting fairly evenly with the Crimson Killers. Crimson Killers nearly defeated, but the Peak Gate Guard nearly destroyed as well, and this isn't the only unit of Black Orcs here. I'm going to move Thorgrim right in to help. We got to knock those Crimson Killers out before they live up to their name and take the Peak Gate Guard out. We're going to actually have to back these guys off, lest they be destroyed. The frickin' pump wagons are still causing major issues and not allowing our sort of quarrelers and such to fire, and are just doing those repeated cycle charges. Damn, we're really gonna need a few troll hammers, whether it be of the grudge thrower variant, as in of the gyrocopter grudge thrower variant, or possibly just the irregular iron drakes. Because we have buffs for them. We'll see. But anyway, looks like with the left flank, well, I was about to say the left flank is no longer in trouble, but it still kind of is. Still very much surrounded, and frankly, so is the right flank, where a half HP of unit of Black Orcs is still fighting. And I'd wager at least a couple of the other enemy units of Black Orcs are still looking to come back into the fight. We're trying our best to make sure that doesn't happen, as our Gyro Bombers are just moving into melee, or Gyro Bomber is moving into melee, and trying to make sure that the Black Orcs just don't return. And yet another cycle charge from those pump wagons into our back line, riding right through those miners and stuff. I wonder if SFO's done anything interesting to the Orca Boar Boy chariots. Because back when pump wagons were introduced, they, especially the spiky rollers, they made the orc boar boy chariots effectively useless by comparison because they're so much better. And I'm interested to see whether SFO does anything interesting to make them worth the time again. Anyway, looks like the left flank has been cleared by another volley of satchel charges. Those miners are really, really helpful here. We've been forced to move back into the fight with our Peak Gate Guard, who are now down to 22 units and maybe 15% of their HP, but with their last charge, they do manage to knock out that last unit of Black Orcs, and it looks like all the Black Orcs at this point out of the picture. All 4 units have been destroyed. Grimgor's been destroyed, and all his 3 Black Orc big bosses destroyed as well, though there are still enemies riding around. Frickin' pump wagons still on field. A bunch of regular Orc boys as well. And it looks like a full HP unit of Orc Boar Boy Biggins. Why or where did these guys come from, you ask? That 3.8k damage was dealt to our reinforcing Dwarf Lord, who appeared here, and they just surrounded him and forced him to flee. I don't believe he was killed, but, well, I guess he did distract them, and maybe that will still have been worth it. He did kill 6 of them, so there's something. Damn you, pump wagons. And, oh, right back into those garage throwers. Oh, well, and we still have a little bit of ammunition remaining on the satchel charges. Well, actually, we didn't, but we could just restock them. Check a few more at those boar boys, though obviously these satchel charges aren't going to do as much damage to these guys as they did to the droves of infantry when they were all piled up together. Unfortunately, our remaining hammers can't help right now. They're busy actually giving chase to the enemy, and in particular and especially the Black Orcs back there. We really can't have those guys rallying. Fortunately for us, it looks like the balance of power is climbing in our favor, and it looks like the enemy has finally given up, and we just barely managed to pull this one off. Tons and tons of our units routed. I believe several were nearly destroyed and down to like 10 units or something like that. Yeah, look at those HP values. Yeah, I fear we've taken a lot more damage than I was hoping that we would. Unfortunately, we didn't have a nice location like, I don't know, like here. Actually, funnily enough, we probably could have booked it over here and probably defended here, which would have made it a lot easier. But this was a much more fun fight, so you know what? I'll take it. But anyway, we've taken so much damage that the army and Wa that is outside the settlement might be a major threat in terms of potentially wiping us out. But it's always worth it to get a great fight, and great fight it was. Hey, hello Discord, nice pickup, but definitely a tough fight there. We came very, very close to losing that one. It was a desperate and down to the wire at the very last moment, and we suffered severe damage on most of our units. In fact, a couple of the Dwarf Warriors nearly got destroyed. Even the Peak Gate Guard nearly got destroyed. The repeated charges to the Grudge Throwers with the enemy pump wagons that were able to break through the Dwarfen box were also able to achieve quite a bit, but at the end of the day, we did still pull it off. As to whether we did pull it off in a good enough way to, more armor for characters, in a good enough way to survive the next fight. Now that remains to be seen, as to whether this was a generally bad idea or not. I guess we're going to have to find out. Now, we do have a decent amount of healing here. We also probably got these guys very much on the way, and who knows, for all we know, these guys could have another army waiting and trying to destroy us. And ooh, Banner of Swiftness. Now, it's not going to be as good on Thorgrim as it is on Nakai, I will grant, but Thorgrim really does need the speed. Alrighty, and then we'll immediately... He has the need for speed, you could say. Anyway, you are going to repair, and I guess we'll start rebuilding the sparring chamber next turn while we go back to... Almost tempted to go, wait, don't we have a... Yeah, we do have a Venerate the Ancestors, which will allow us to replenish a little bit more. More likely than not, these guys will attack us next turn. Hopefully they don't besiege us, but we'll see. I wonder if the siege might kill the Dwarf Warriors here, but we probably shouldn't leave the summon. I guess it doesn't really matter whether we do or we don't. Single Goblin, Bolt Thrower, other such stuff. Anyway, we will You know, we'll probably want to heal to full before we head out here. Although, on the other hand, we might want to take advantage of the fact that this is their strength, their main strength. There's still strength rank 1 after the... Oh my. Okay, so probably they have more than this one stack running around, so that ain't great for us. Yeah, you know what? Nah, I lied. We're going to go into Masters of Stone and Steel or Steel and Stone, because as soon as we get to Karaz-a-Karak upgraded, we can get the Everguard up and running. And they'll be at least cheap for, well, cheap. They'll be available to us. Still ludicrously expensive, but not as ludicrously expensive as they might be. Anyway, folks, though it is a cliffhanger as to whether we will survive next turn when Sarah attacks us, I think I'm going to call this particular episode here, as we're out of time. So next time we'll find out whether Thorgrim's main stack survives or whether we'll have to beat it back to Karaz-a-Karak and desperately build dwarf warriors and such, and try to get it back up and running. We'll also probably have to get our second army up and running a little bit sooner than I'd like, because we will need to probably defend against the Drippin' Fangs. Though admittedly, if we can quickly knock out Grimgor, that would probably be quite helpful. Do I imagine as soon as we do, whatever other orcs or Tzeentchans or whoever is probably going to declare war on us as well, Skaven. Thorgrim seems to have a really fun start. I'm really enjoying this so far, and I expect great things to come. So stay tuned for more. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.